This is Cults Unpacked, and my name is Danny Clayton. A quick content warning though, the following cult we are looking at is disturbing. It features murder, child abuse, molestation, child labour, and brainwashing, which seems to make sense considering the cult itself was run by a one-eyed Nazi. To illuminate the darkness, I have author and cult specialist Joe Thornley. Now, Joe, this one really is the worst of the worst, with Germans and Chileans taken to a camp in central Chile and essentially put to work and tortured and everything in between. Is this the worst of the worst, Joe?
In a crowded field, yes. The cult leader, Paul Schafer, might be one of the worst humans that's ever lived.
Now, very interesting character in itself. He's one-eyed. How did he lose his eye?
As a child, and normally this would be horrific, but it kind of makes me cheer a bit because he was a horrible man. He was trying to undo his shoelace with a fork, and the fork slipped and left him with one eye.
Now, I believe he told people that he lost the eye in the war. Do you think that that's a better story for him?
There's no good story for him. I think he lied to a lot of people about a lot of things. He was a Nazi and liked to surround himself with other Nazis. So this isn't going to get any lighter, is it?
No, definitely not. Now, the camp actually had some truly woeful atrocities. What was some of the stuff that was going down at that particular cult?
Like a lot of cults, there were two levels in Colonia Dignidad. There were the masses, the followers, and they were generally Nazi sympathisers that came with Paul Schafer from Germany to South America. And they had to live in silence. Genders and families were separated. They had to work very hard to grow and make things that the cult sold. And then there was the upper level, and that was Paul Schafer and his mates. And they were the ones doing a lot of the beating, some torturing, some murder, and the whole place was surrounded with barbed wire, watchdogs, Alsatians, and guards with guns. Fun times.
And Joe, can you explain how Paul Schafer ruined Christmas?
I mean, at least no one died. Cult leaders typically don't want anyone to love anyone more than themselves, more than the leader. They must be number one. And in the cult, the children were starting to get excited around Christmas at the, imminent arrival of Santa Claus. Paul hated that, so he got one of his followers to dress up as Santa Claus, and then in front of the children, he pretended to shoot Santa. So for all these kids knew, Uncle Paul just murdered Santa Claus.
It makes me wonder how anyone could possibly be drawn in to this kind of cult. What were the promises? What were the reasons why people would even consider joining Colonia Dignidad?
Well, despite his seriousness and the fact that he was a massive bastard, Paul Schafer was quite charismatic and he was a talented preacher. But also, after the Second World War, a lot of Nazis and sympathisers moved to South America, partly because they were kind of welcome to people of a totalitarian way, but also the mountains reminded them of the German Alps, and Paul Schafer offered these people a place to hide away from the persecution they faced in Germany and to live a pure Christian life.
Okay. I think that really sums up the kind of guy Paul Schafer really is. So, Joe, I do have one final question for you. What were the people promised when they joined this cult, and what were they given?
They were promised a place to hide and a place to live a peaceful life. And they got murder, torture, and a big boss man who was a horrible paedophile.
Okay, Colonia Dignidad, a terrible, terrible cult.